Hi everyone and welcome to Live Penguin TV. My name is Jordan and I'm your host tonight. This evening we've also got Amber joining us. Amber is a new face. Come say hello.
Hi everyone, how are you tonight? I hope you're all well. Tonight I'll be monitoring all the questions that you send to us via Facebook and YouTube. Tonight we'll be monitoring those on YouTube, okay? The ones on Facebook, our team of rangers are standing by to answer them, and they will get back to you in the next 24 hours if we don't answer them on the stream tonight. Now, for those of you who watched last night or are just keen to know, we had 2,116 penguins cross the beach last night at 6:45. How exciting, Jordan?
Very good. So that's a really good sign because hopefully we'll see very similar numbers tonight. We're in the breeding season here at the Penguin Parade in Phillip Island, Victoria, Australia. And the penguins are really keen to get home, to swap over sitting on their eggs and to bring some food back home to their chicks. So that's what we'll be seeing tonight. Everyone will be hopefully seeing lots of parent penguins making their way across this beach just in front of us and bringing some food home to their chicks because we've had a very early start to the breeding season. Now, we are getting so many questions and comments coming through on both Facebook and YouTube. Please don't be offended if we don't get around to answering your questions live on the air. We are getting so many coming through, but just like Amber mentioned, we will be going through and monitoring the YouTube stream tonight and picking a few of those questions to answer live on the air. And on Facebook, we will be getting those rangers coming back to answer them personally for you. So hang in there, don't get offended. We're not ignoring you. We are just getting so much love and passionate questions from all of you guys that we can't get to them all within about a 30-minute period. So thanks again for all of your questions. And you know what? If we don't get around to answering your questions tonight, you can tune in to Live Penguin TV night after night because we are running this stream every single night. And the more you tune in and the more you ask those questions, the higher likelihood we will be able to answer them live for you on the air. So this evening, it's still a little bit light outside, which means the little penguins, the species of penguins that are here at the Penguin Parade, are currently going to be out in the water. They're waiting for it to get nice and dark because we've got a very low tide tonight as well. The penguins have a long journey home, the poor little wobbling things. They're waiting for it to get dark because crossing the open sandy beach at the end of the day is the scariest and most dangerous time for the little penguins. They've actually got blue feathers there. They're the only species of penguins in the world with blue feathers, which helps them camouflage out in the water. So if there's any predatory birds such as swamp harriers, sea eagles, Pacific gulls flying around looking for a tasty penguin to snack on, they blend in, they camouflage perfectly with the water. So they are waiting for it to get dark so that they know that those predatory birds, they've gone to bed for the night and they can cross this open sandy beach where we'll be able to watch them waddling home after dark. They'll be able to do that nice and safely and not have to be worried about getting swooped on at any point throughout the night. So being such a low tide tonight, they've got a really long journey home, the poor things. So they'll be surfing waves in and then slowly probably jumping between those clusters of rocks because the dark rocks help them camouflage a little bit as well, and they feel a little bit safer clambering over those rocks rather than going in the open sand over here. So this is the main pathway that we're going to be watching the penguins coming home from tonight. We get about 60 to 70% of the overall penguins here at the Penguin Parade literally crossing right in front of us here, and that's the main penguin pathway that we will be focusing on tonight. But they're actually crossing all the way along the beach. So I'm going to scan back a little bit. Penguins, just like us, they've got their own address. They know exactly where they live. They know where their burrow is. They know where their little mortgage-free nest box is, and they want to take the quickest, shortest route home. So there's lots of different pathways along the beach, and we are going to be having penguin counter Sally counting the penguins tonight. So Amber, if I can get you to radio Sally to give us a bit of a wave, I'll zoom in on her.
Sally, can you just wave about 30 seconds?
All right, let's see. So she's counting these penguins, I can see a dark figure in there. We count the penguins for about 50 minutes every single night, and we just saw Sally with a pair of binoculars. And there's two of them. There's Beck and Sally. Oh, they're both waving. There we go. There's Sally. So send her all your love tonight. You can see her waving just there, because she's going to be counting hopefully over 2,000 penguins crossing the beach tonight, and that's all the way along the beach. So she's got a very, very tough job, and she will be relaying some of the penguin groups, how many penguins are in those groups, so that we can know exactly how many penguins cross the beach tonight. So very soon we are going to be opening up to regional Victoria, and we'll be able to have some people sitting on the stand, some of these grandstands just over here, and also at the Penguins Plus stand, which is right underneath us. So we're very much looking forward to having you back, regional Victoria, very, very shortly, and hopefully the rest of Melbourne, the rest of Australia will follow soon after that, and our international guests, wherever you may be, hopefully we can have you back very, very soon as well. We're very much looking forward to all your questions and comments and seeing you all in person and letting you see the penguins here in person at the Penguin Parade. So here on Phillip Island, you might know that Phillip Island is actually known by another name, and that's Malau. Malau is the name given by the Bunurong people, who are the traditional custodians of the land here on Phillip Island, and I would like to acknowledge them and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge the way that they've cared for country over so many thousands of years. And I'd like to encourage all of you at home to think about ways that you can help live more kindly and more sustainably with the earth, doing small things and changing small behaviours in your life to live like the traditional custodians of the land here on Phillip Island and all across Australia. So thank you so much in advance for that. I'll talk about some of the different ways that you can help protect penguins from home, and also when you come visit us here at the Penguin Parade when we do end up opening again. So thank you so much, everyone. And if you know who the traditional custodians of the land are, where you're joining us from, let us know in the comments. It's been fantastic seeing the outpouring of support that these traditional custodians have been getting. So keep that up. Thanks, everyone. Now, what I'm looking for now, I want to see if I can find any groups of penguins out in the water. So a group of penguins out in the ocean is called a raft, R-A-F-T, because they float together like a raft of penguins with their little heads poking out of the water, and they'll be making a very special sound. And before we actually went live, I was having a look at some of the comments, and people already know what sound the penguins make out in the ocean, and that's called a huck. It sounds like huck, 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 huck. And that's the penguins talking to each other out in the water. That's them communicating, because crossing the beach is so scary. They want to have as many friends home to come home with as possible, because it's safety in numbers. The more penguins in a group crossing the beach, the less likely, if there is a predator around to swoop down on them, the less chance that it's going to be you that gets picked up. So currently I can't see any at the moment. I've only got a fairly small screen here in our live stream room, but for those of you who have are watching on a big screen at home, you might even be able to see a little bit better than me. So what we're looking for is some kind of dark patches in the water. And it's still fairly light. We've got a quite clear night, not too many clouds, which means it's going to get darker a little bit later than normal, which is okay. The penguins, as I said, we don't train them. We don't tell them what to do, when to do, or how to do it. We are on penguin time. So because it's so light, because the tide is so low, I reckon the penguins are going to be a little bit nervous, and even though they'll be very keen to get home to maybe swap over duties sitting on eggs or looking after their chicks, they want to make sure that they can actually cross this open sandy beach, and my goodness, it is a very low tide tonight. We'll be able to watch them for a very long time as they waddle across the beach tonight. It looks like we might have some silver gulls hanging out just over here. Let me zoom in on those. Okay, so they are quite far away. Yes, so we've got a group of silver gulls just over here. They aren't threats to the little penguins here on Phillip Island. They're not kind of friends, they're not enemies, they just tolerate each other. they're the ones who, when people come back, they're probably going to try and harass you for hot chips and for popcorn. They're the ones in Finding Nemo that say, might. So they're not going to eat a penguin. So the penguins don't have to worry about this group of silver gulls here tonight. But that is another kind of penguin neighbour that we have here on Phillip Island.
Yeah. So we've got some fantastic questions coming through, guys, so please keep sending them through to us. So we've got a few questions. So Megan asked, how does Sally count the penguins?
How does Sally count the penguins? Good question, Megan. So we've been counting penguins the same way nearly every single night since 1968. So she's got a pair of binoculars, just like this. And there's about 5 or 6 different penguin pathways all the way along the beach. I was just trying to see if we saw any zooming up just to the water's edge, but no, still a little bit light, that's all right. So one pathway that we've got here is this one at Penguins Plus, where we get most of our penguins crossing the beach at night. There's about another maybe 1, 2, 3 different pathways between that pathway and in between that first grandstand over there. We've also got another penguin pathway that comes up in between those 2 stands. Let me zoom in on those for you. So they're going to come up. So if you were sitting in those grandstands, you'd be able to be in the bottom corner and watch the penguins literally as they're waddling across the beach. And then we have Ranger Beck, who we just saw leaving our little building before. We're going to have another pathway up that other side as well. So lucky Sally and all our penguin counters get help on that penguin pathway counting them, but it's literally just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 100 penguins. And that's the way we've been counting them for 50 minutes. 50 minutes nearly every single night since 1968, and it's part of a really, really long penguin survey, and we've got to keep the data consistent. We've got to count them the same way and the same methods that we did all the way back in 1968, and that's what we do every single night here at the Penguin Parade. So if you guys wanted to get a job working with us here at the Penguin Parade, we're always in need of penguin counters. You've got to have good eyesight, you need to be able to use those binoculars, and you can be trained up to count these little penguins as they waddle their way home every single day of the year. So thanks for that, Megan. And we've got another one.
We do.
Woohoo!
So this one is from William. He is 3 years old. William wanted to know, how did the penguins find it today being so warm? Do they like the warm weather?
Oh, thank you, William. So 3 years old?
3 years old.
Lovely,
yes.
lovely. That's a very good question for 3 years old. Thanks, William. So the penguins spend about 80% of their lives out in the big blue ocean. So it's nice and cool for them out there. Of course, we're enjoying the nice warm weather here in Melbourne at the moment. We've had a nice cold, wet winter. These penguins are pretty resilient. They can come home in the middle of summer when it's about 35, 40 degrees home. So I think it's about 20 degrees today, the top. So the penguins haven't been used to having really, really warm days for such a long time. So they'll probably be like, oh, it's a little bit warm today, just like we do. But they're pretty good at handling temperatures in the mid kind of 20s. It gets a little bit hot for them when it gets above 30 degrees though. So thank you for that one, William. Thank you. Now, I've just been told that penguins are going to be arriving soon. So have we seen some rafts, or are they at the water's edge?
There's some small rafts just offshore, but nothing at the water's edge just yet.
Okay. So our ranger, Sally, has had her binoculars and she's looking out, and she said she could see those rafts out in the water. So can anyone see any little dark patches? Let us know in the comments if you can see them. We've got such a low tide, it's hard to get all the way out there and zoom. So, all right, let's keep an eye. I'm going to slowly kind of move along the ocean to see if we can spot any of them. So because it's starting to get a little bit darker, the penguins have decided, yep, it's nearly time to cross the beach and to come home because those predatory birds have gone to bed for the night. I'm struggling to see anything just yet. They're making us wait, those cheeky little penguins tonight. But you know what? As long as they get home safe, I'm sure you'll all agree we don't mind waiting for them. We just get more time to answer questions and things like that. All right, let's keep slowly having a look. I wonder if they're going to be washing up on the water's edge very, very shortly. Oh, so I've just been told that there are some penguins at the water's edge, sorry, on the east side of the stand, which is that far pathway that our ranger Beck will be counting tonight. Now, it's a bit far away and we don't normally zoom out here so much, so I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see them. But if they've started coming out over there, you can see that the sand is really open. There's no rocks. So if they've rocked up, pardon the pun, if they're wanting to cross the beach where there's an open sand, hopefully that means that the penguins at the Penguins Plus area, they will be very keen to get home because those rocks have them camouflaged. So I'm just going to have a look. Let's see if we can see any penguins at the water's edge around our Penguins Plus pathway. Sorry if I'm making anyone seasick. I might zoom out a little bit and see how we go. All right, can anyone see them? Quick look. Fantastic. So I might, while we're looking for these cheeky penguins, I'll just let you know that Phillip Island Nature Parks is the organisation that, pause that, Jordan. I think I've seen one lone penguin. Oh no, there's a group just over there. Hang on. The penguins are always interrupting me. I don't mind. I'm sure you guys don't either. There we go. We've got a first tiny little group of penguins. This will be a very easy group. So a group of penguins on land is called a group, but we like to call them a waddle here at the Penguin Parade. And I'm sure if this is your first time watching, you'll understand why. I think if you're regular viewers, you know exactly why they're called a waddle. So they're hanging around, they're having a look, they're thinking, oh, is it dark? Is it safe? Can I cross the beach yet? Have a bit of a go and see if you can count how many penguins are in this group. I'll zoom in a little bit more. We'll see how good the camera quality is on such a low tide tonight. Look at them. They're all huddled. They're a little bit nervous. It's not quite time for them to cross the beach yet, just because it is still quite light and they've got such a long journey to go home across the beach on this very, very low tide. So Phillip Island Nature Parks is the organisation that manages the Penguin Parade. We are a conservation non-for-profit organisation. So any people who come and buy souvenirs, people who buy entry to the Penguin Parade, Koala Conservation Reserve, or Churchill Island Heritage Farm here on the island, you're contributing towards our conservation education and research projects. So if you've joined us in the past, thank you so much for supporting us and the conservation work that we do, making our island home a nice, safe place for these little penguins. But while we don't have any visitors, if you'd like to help us protect these penguins, you can also donate to the Penguin Foundation, and the link is just in the description below. You can adopt a penguin, you can become a penguin pal, and get a cute little plush toy that comes with the little pack, or you can make a donation. So any spare change that you've got for us to help these little guys, we much appreciate it while we don't have any visitors with us here at the moment. But hopefully that's going to change very, very shortly. Come on, camera, let's focus. I'm just going to have a little bit of a look over here, because if they popped up in that section, oh yep, there they are. There's another little group. We haven't had any big groups crossing yet, have we, Amber?
No, nothing yet.
Well, they're a bit nervous tonight, and I do not blame these little penguins. Now, although
just received word, Jordan, that there are some larger groups at Penguins Club just starting to come out of the water.
Very good. So Sally has noticed there's one little penguin, and it looks like he's going that way, or she, I can't tell from this distance. I wonder if there's a bigger group slightly off to this side. So let's have a quick squint. Any penguins surfing their way in? Oh, I think I can see a few white bellies just in these rocks over here. Let's zoom in on these guys just here as well. It's going to be a nice slow start, so it'll be a nice easy job for Sally to count them for now, but I bet as soon as it gets dark, those penguins are going to be out there going, ha, 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 let's go home, and they're going to make it a very difficult job for Sally to count them as they cross the beach tonight. But you can see they really love hanging around in these rocks. Sorry, it's a little bit blurry tonight. It's just because the tide is so low. When they come a little bit closer, I promise you they'll become a little bit clearer. but they like hanging around on these rocks, even though it's a little bit more difficult for them to cross over these rocks. Those dark basaltic rocks offer them a little bit more protection, a little bit more camouflage, especially because they've got such a long stretch of beach to cross home tonight. All right, so we know there's a couple there. We can see those little white bellies. Let's scroll over this way where we normally get to see those nice big groups. Sorry again for the blur. Oh, hello. Look who I've just, oh, too far, Jordan, too far. We've just had a nice big group of penguins crossing. Oh, and we've got a penguin in the top right-hand corner of the Penguin Highway. So this is a nice big group that's just started crossing the beach over here now, everyone. Send your love and your support to Sally, who's going to be counting all of them. I would love to see in the comments how many penguins you think are in this big group over here. Chuck them in there, and then I might get Amber to let me know how many penguins crossed in this group, and we'll see if anyone got really close to that number. Look at them waddle. They're almost, I reckon, at that halfway point on the beach tonight. Looks like some of them are kind of splitting different sides around the rocks. So they're nearly home. And I reckon this is probably the last little stretch of beach that they've got before they reach those rocks. So let's watch them as they pick up the pace. And look at that one right out the front. It is not waiting for anyone. Oh, yep, they're definitely picking up the pace a little bit. Look at them waddle. They are nice, fat, chunky penguins. They've been eating lots of food. That one's still leading the way. Eating lots of food out in the ocean, things like pilchards, anchovies, squid, and jellyfish. So they are very, very healthy penguins. They've had lots of food, and it looks like we've already got a few at the rocks just over here. Let's wait for them on the rocks. Looks like there might have been a smaller group to kind of start off with, and I wonder if there's going to be a little bit of a little bit of a domino effect, especially if the first couple of penguins decide they actually want to stay on the rocks. They want to catch their breath after doing that big marathon crossing the beach. Look at this one, not waiting for any penguin. That is a beautiful independent penguin who don't need no waddle. Emma's just laughing at me. All right, let's zoom in on them over here. Yeah, so they're catching their breath there, but poor hearts are probably going boom, 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 100 miles an hour. This is where once they get to this spot, they know they're safe. They've crossed the big, open, scary beach. Looks like there's two that might be having a bit of a chat in the bottom of the screen. So yeah, they don't have to worry so much anymore. They've made their dangerous dash. They are home, and this is where they will either stop for a bit of a rest and give them a chance to socialise, because out in the water, they're typically all by themselves. But some of them are very much keen to keep on going. No socialising tonight. They might have eggs or chicks at home. Let's watch them as they jump into this pool, diving off. Oh, that wasn't very graceful. Let's have a look at this. Oh, yeah, that was a beautiful dive. I think it was last night or the night before, they were actually rating the penguins diving. Sky and Stephen were rating the penguins diving off this dive board. Some of them are very graceful and others just kind of slip in.
So Jordan, I've just had word from Sally that we had 74 penguins in that first group. So if anyone gets 74, well done.
Very good, 74 penguins. Did we see if anyone gets anywhere close to that in the YouTube comments tonight?
Yes, there was a few.
Look at them swimming through this little puddle. Their little heads and tails in the air.
Shout out to Sunny Day. Your guess was 78, and that was the closest one. Well done.
Good work, Sunny. That's awesome. Okay, looks like we're having some penguins coming up on the Penguin Highway. So let's see them just over here. So I'm going to talk about this penguin that looks like it's going the opposite way in just a moment. But this is one of the most popular routes for the penguins to get home, the Penguin Highway. You can see they've worn out this pathway because it's just like us. If you get on the highway, you know exactly where you're going. You get to go nice and quickly. You know where the exit to your highway is. You know where your residential road and your driveway is. So the penguins, just like us, they use visual cues to be able to make their way home. And this is one of the main kind of highways here at the Penguin Parade. So look at them go. They are not stopping for that penguin who looks like it's not having a bar of it. Now, I've got a bit of a theory for this penguin over here. I'm wondering if this is something we call a shell gritter. So female penguins, when they're getting ready to lay their eggs, some of them will actually head down into to the beach at night if they've spent the day in their burrow, and they head back down to nibble on little bits of seashells to get some calcium to make their eggshells quite nice, strong and healthy. So it looks like that's what this penguin is doing. It's stopping to look a little bit around, so we'll be able to watch and wait and see if she does turn around. But this is quite a common thing that we do get to see in the breeding season. Mama-to-be looking to go get some kind of calcium supplements, just like when females will get pregnancy cravings as well. This one, see, she's not following the rest of them. She's on a bit of a mission. So I might jump back to our other camera and we can keep an eye on her in our top right-hand screen on the Penguin Highway. Looks like we've got a few more kind of swimming through the puddle at the moment. Now, if you tuned in last night, you might have seen something a little bit funny and a little bit exciting. You might have seen a penguin and a goose standoff. Now, I wasn't actually able to watch last night because I was busy working, but I was told that there was a big traffic jam of penguins trying to make their way up this hill, which I will show you to just now, and there was a mama goose with two little baby goslings who was sitting right in their way, in their pathway, and was not letting them through. So let's have a look and see if we can see the same thing tonight. I was told it was very, very funny. I saw a very short clip, and in fact, I think it was in this kind of general area that we saw mama goose standing off today. Doesn't look like she's there today, so the penguins get to go straight up this hill and make their way home. You can see that there's some crawling, kind of commandoing through the grass over here, unimpeded by that cheeky goose who was blocking their way. So these are some of the little mortgage-free penguin homes that we have made for the penguins here at the Penguin Parade in areas where the environment or the dirt has kind of been a bit disturbed by human activity, whether it's been really compacted or it's really loose and unstable. So these beautiful mortgage-free penguin homes are up for grabs by any penguins who decide they want to claim an empty one. And these ones have a beautiful beachside residence. So I'm very, very jealous of these penguins. They don't have a very long distance to go home, and we've actually done some landscaping for them as well. There's a penguin just out the front of this one over here. You can see it looks like there's kind of a milk container. So we've got some lovely little Rhagodia seaberry saltbush plants planted in there. Myself and my housemate and co-worker Megan actually planted some of these ones, because what we want to do is encourage the plants to go around and cover these boxes so that when it does get hot in summer, I think it was William who was asking if the penguins do get hot. When we've got vegetation covering these little wooden boxes, it helps keep them a little bit cooler and the penguins are a little bit more comfortable inside. So with all this rain we've been having, hopefully the plants are doing really, really well. They're really healthy. And there's going to be a nice big covering on these boxes very, very shortly. Now I'd like to go back to the beach and see if we can see any penguins making their way across. Oh, hello. Look at all these guys hanging around. This raft has just washed up on the water's edge. Again, let us know how many penguins you think have crossed. It looks like there's kind of a group halfway up the beach and some that have just made their way out of the water. And I can even see a penguin right at the water's edge who's making a beeline for that second group at the back, so that we've got safety in numbers. Let's zoom in on these guys as they make their way across. These ones are a little bit spread out, so it might be a bit easier for our penguin counter to count them tonight, because when they're really, really close together, it can be a little bit tricky to count them. But as it gets darker, they're not as worried. They're not quite as fussed about getting predated on, about any predatory birds swooping down to get them. So they can kind of slow down a little bit and even spread out more as well. Looks like we've got a few stopping to preen on the Penguin Highway in the top of the screen. But yeah, if you were joining us here at the Penguin Parade, you could literally be on the Penguins Plus stand, which is a ticket option that you can buy at the Penguin Parade. And you'll be able to sit here and watch these penguins with your own eyes making their way across the beach. Look at them, they're coming back around together. Okay, maybe they are a little bit nervous. They want to be with their friends. Look at them go. They've definitely picked up the pace a little bit now. Some of them look like they're taking the lead. Others, they're swapping over. Look at them go. Come on, camera, let's focus. You can see that some of them are a little bit more waddly than others. Some of them have a slight more kind of swagger to them. Others are a little bit more upright. Some of them are a little bit chunky, so they're very good, fat, healthy penguins. Hopefully bringing lots of food home for their little chickies that are at home. Okay, now come on, camera, let's focus a little bit better. There we go. So they've made it to the rocks. They are happy penguins. And I wonder if they're going to stop just like that first group or if they're going to power on through. So let's watch, wait and see. Looks like we've got a few penguins who are hanging out just on the rocks. They are happy, relaxing. They're preening themselves, making sure they look beautiful for when they return to their nests at night. Their partners might be at home and they, of course, want to look beautiful for their breeding partner as well. Looks like that shell gritter is still hanging around on the penguin highway. Even though we've got penguins waddling their way past, she is not getting turned around at all. My goodness, look at these penguins. Stumbling over the rocks. They're not very graceful, but it works for them, so go penguins. Oh, look, we'll be able to see some of them diving off. Ready? Boop! It was interesting. I was actually down at the Penguins Plus stand last night doing some work, and I was actually hearing them hucking, making that huck, huck, huck noise out in this little puddle that we've got here, and I've never seen that before, so that was really, really cool. So you can usually hear them making those hucking noise out in the water, but you can actually hear them in this little pool, which isn't always here. We've had a lot of rain recently. Look at them diving out of there so quick. They're much better at swimming across this pool than they would have been if it wasn't here and just walking their way along. Let's see if we can follow some of these ones up the hill. Again, I don't think that goose is around to impede them tonight. They have got a nice clear pathway home. Let's scroll up the hill. It's a little bit harder to see them coming up the hill because it's a little bit darker over there. But yeah, oh, the first one's just decided to stop. And it's got a little bit of a boot from the penguins at the back. Oh, and off we hop again. All right.
Jordan, I've just had word from Sally. We had 358 penguins in that large group that's just come through.
358 penguins in that really big group that just came along. Isn't she doing a great job, everyone? Send her your love. Ranger Sally counting them tonight. She's definitely having her work cut out for her this evening. Look at them all coming across just over here. Now, what I might do is I'm going to switch back to our other camera. And I just wanted to talk a little bit more about this shell gritter penguin, this female penguin who is, dare I speak too soon? No, not joining the group. So, over here, I was out in the field with my housemate and co-worker Megan, who I mentioned earlier, and we came across a burrow and we thought, you know what, there's been 2 penguins in this burrow for quite a long time. I wonder if there's going to be some eggs. And so we actually came up to this burrow and we found little kind of piles of seashells out the front of this burrow. And so what female penguins do when they've laid their eggs, they actually regurgitate the shells that they've been eating so that they can, because they've got enough calcium. And so we're talking about this penguin that's just kind of off to the right. I'm assuming it's the right for you guys as well. That's not coming across of all of the other penguins. And we found something quite interesting and a little bit sad in this little pile of shell that she's thrown up. There was this little bit of plastic just over here, and I have shown it once before. So this is a little bit of plastic that this female penguin in this specific burrow thought was a bit of seashell. And so it's really, really good in this situation that she actually threw this back up, so it was no longer in her stomach, causing her tummy any discomfort, and she's also not going to regurgitate this little bit of plastic to her chicks because she thinks it was food. So what I'll ask of everyone tonight, guys, is wherever you are, please make sure your rubbish is going in the bin, because wherever you are, plastic takes such a long time to degrade. And we don't want this coming from the other side of the world or from our own backyard to land here on Phillip Island, and we don't want our penguins to ingest this bit of plastic. So wherever you are, if you're out in a wild place, please pick up any rubbish that you're seeing, and please make sure your rubbish goes in the right spot as well. But the best thing that we can do is try to reduce how much plastic that we're using in the first place, because the less plastic that we use, the less likely it's going to be out in the environment, in the ocean, and affecting our penguins and wonderful marine wildlife. We do sometimes get sick and injured penguins coming to us here at the Penguin Parade, and we do have a wildlife hospital here on site that deals with especially seabirds, and that is funded by the Penguin Foundation. So if you have donated to the Penguin Foundation in the past, or you're planning to do so, that is what some of your money is going towards. So again, if you've got a little bit of spare change, we would be very appreciative of any donation that you've got, but your money is going towards a very, very good cause and helping to protect these little penguins. So thank you so much in advance, everyone. Let's have a bit of a look at these guys preening themselves. There's tons coming up the Penguin Highway in that top right-hand corner. They are having a great time. There's a few kind of trying to bust their way through. I wonder if that means that they've got chicks or eggs at home. So they've got also a little oil gland at the base of their tail, which they stimulate with their beak. So if you kind of see them turning around and pecking their bottom, they're actually getting some waterproof oil over their beak, which they then run through their feathers. It helps keep them nice and warm and conditioned and healthy. But that kind of waterproof oil also keeps them a little bit waterproof as well. So when they're out in the water, no water is actually touching their skin, so they can remain out to sea anywhere from 1 day up to about 4 or 5 weeks at a time. So they spend 80% of their lives out in the water. They're seabirds, they're marine birds, so they're pescatarian, they only eat seafood. As soon as they come on land, they're effectively on a diet or they're fasting. Now, I've just been advised by Amber that we've got about 5 more minutes left of Penguin live stream tonight. I hope you've had a great time watching these little dudes making their way in. I'm just going to see if there's any penguins out on the beach again. So if you've got any questions, please do send them through. We've answered a couple tonight. Oh, looks like there's a few at the water's edge. Let's zoom in on these guys, although it is getting quite dark at the moment. Keep sending those questions in. Remember, we are monitoring them on YouTube tonight, and we'll be answering those ones live from on the air. But also, we are getting some penguin rangers on Facebook to go back through and actually answer those questions and give you a personalised answer. So don't be offended if we don't get to you. We're getting so many questions coming through, but keep tuning in night after night, and we'll be able to answer those questions, hopefully live for you on the air. Well, I think it's getting a little bit dark to watch them right at the water's edge at the moment, so I might focus a little bit more inland at the moment. Come on, camera. Right. Yeah, I think that's still a little bit dark, so we've got such a low tide, which is why it's quite tricky at the moment. All right, let's go back this way and have a look at those penguins on the rocks and see what they're getting up to.
So Jordan, before we go, we've got one last question, and it's from Shay. Do penguins move home, or do they stick to the same burrow their whole life?
Ooh, good question, Shay. So I'm going to kind of answer that in 2 different parts. So usually adult penguins will stay in the same home for most of their life if it's a good burrow, if it's nice and protected, if they don't have any kind of predatory birds threatening them or their babies, they like hanging around in that burrow. So if they do decide that, if the mum and dad or the husband and wife penguin decide to stay in that burrow, that's great for them, but sometimes penguins get divorced. So usually, if it was a natural burrow, the male penguin will be the one to dig the burrow. So in the divorce, the male penguins are actually the ones that get to keep the burrow. So as a feminine, I'm like, that's not fair, but I guess it's fair in penguin world. So yeah, the female will have to go and find a different burrow. Just zoom in on these guys just over here. So yeah, sometimes they do decide to move burrows if they're not happy kind of with the location, or they do, oh, looks like those ones are just having a little bit of a fight over there, or if they do get divorced. And with the chicks, when they reach to about 8 to 10 weeks old, they're kind of booted out of the burrow because they are no longer a fluffy little penguin chick. They're the size of a full-grown adult, and they have to go out there and fend for themselves. But usually when the penguins are ready to have the the juvenile penguins are ready to have babies or to have chicks of their own, they'll come back to a similar area to where their parents raised them within about 40 metres or so generally, because they know that area really well. And so they'll dig a burrow themselves. The male penguins will dig a burrow, and then when he's ready to attract a mate, he'll stand out the front and he'll go, which is a kind of a love penguin song. I can just see Amber laughing at me again, just off to my right. I do like talking to penguins. I totally forgot what I was saying. Anyway, yeah, so when they're ready to have their young, he will attract a female using his beautiful big voice and puff his chest out. But if the male penguin has found a kind of pre-made empty nest box that I showed you just a little bit earlier, he will take kind of charge of that burrow and try to woo a female that way. So yes, usually they will kind of maintain their territory in the burrow. They might move around a little bit, but generally if they have successful rearing of their eggs and their chicks, if they're safe, if they know it's in a good spot, usually they will stay in their burrows, that burrow for their whole life. Alrighty, everyone. So we are going to be wrapping up tonight. It has been a little bit of a long session tonight. Everyone knows that I can talk quite a lot. So I hope you've had a lovely time watching these little penguins waddle their way home. Remember that we are tuning in to this live stream every single night. So if you are wanting to watch these penguins come home every night, tune in tomorrow, same time, same place. I will be your host tomorrow as well. And I'm not sure if we're going to be having Amber or Megan tomorrow night, but there might be another new face that we'll get to see assisting me tomorrow. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you then. Keep those questions coming, and remember that we will be answering them on Facebook. We will have Penguin Rangers answering them there. But yeah, tune in on Facebook or YouTube, and we'll do our best to get to your questions and your comments in the stream. But if not, tune in night after night, and we might be lucky enough to see these penguins, to get your questions answered on the air. You can also donate to the Penguin Foundation if you've fallen in love with these penguins. The link is just in the description below. You can get a cute little plush toy if you become a Penguin pal. This one just over here, and a little certificate to say that you've supported us here at the Penguin Foundation. Thanks again, everyone. Make sure your rubbish is going in the bin and try to reduce how much plastic you're using in the first place. We will be forever grateful, and as will the penguins. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.